Hi, my name's Marlene Dodge, and this is my personal introduction video to go over a little bit about myself and my goals for the future. Uh, I moved from Florida about in 2010. I gave up the beaches for life on a farm and ranch, and uh, I wouldn't trade it for anything. We have lots of cows, horses, goats, dogs, cats. My daughters had a really wonderful upbringing. Um, she is now giving me a run for my money. She is now a teenager, and most of the time she's a wonderful child, but I'm still fighting the teenage drama of life. But on top of that, I was blessed with the sweetest little grandbaby. My stepdaughter had a little baby boy, and so now I am a Gigi, and I am beside myself with excitement at getting to spoil him and get that side of it where you're now Gigi and you're not mom. So it's a really wonderful part of my life right now. Um, a little bit about my work experience. After I graduated from college, I was very lucky to get a job with an organization called Outward Bound. It was an experiential learning program. So the way education was delivered was truly different from any kind of traditional experience. I got to go on river trips with kids, and that's how um, the outdoors was my classroom. All our lessons were tied to real life learning experiences. So it was really an interesting way to jump into the world of differentiation and just really meeting kids at the level that they learn at. These were all kids that were court ordered to be in this program, and they had to stay there from about anywhere from 6 months to a year. Uh, but it was extremely rewarding. I also was given administrative duties, even though I didn't have an administrative license. So it was a crash course in dealing with adults at a very young age, especially since I was straight out of college. I was in charge of scheduling adults. I was in charge of letting everybody know what the schedule was, not just during the school day, but from the start of the morning till the kids went to bed at night. And so that was really interesting to learn that you don't always make everybody happy, but you do the best you can. And I learned that communication at a very young age is vital in being successful in an administrative position. After Outward Bound, I went and I helped start up an alternative school. I absolutely loved every moment of it. We had it running for 5 years. It did an amazing job, but then budget cuts hit Florida in a horrible way. There were huge deficits, and so alternative schools were some of the first to close down. And so that was a bit heartbreaking. But after that, I went to a kind of back into the realm of DJJ, and I went into a level 10 facility that also had students with mental health problems. And it was challenging, but it was extremely rewarding. Again, it was about, the whole thing was about differentiating learning and meeting kids at their level. And also, there was a counseling aspect to that job too, that has become a very valuable part of my life, especially when I moved to Kansas. So fast forward a little bit, I moved to Kansas, and I was going to stay home with my daughter for 2 years. And my husband, on a whim, said, "Why don't you apply with the co-op in Ulysses?" And I looked at him and I said, "Well, what's a co-op?" I had never heard of a separate special educational cooperative while I was in Florida. And so I went there, I turned in my application, and within a few seconds, I was asked if I would interview, and the next day I was hired. I am forever grateful that my husband suggested I go apply, even though it was a year before I ever intended on going back to teaching. But I got employed with Ulysses High School through High Plains Educational Cooperative, and I stayed there until this past year, when I was offered a job with High Plains Educational Co-op as a supervisor coordinator position, which is an administrative position. I was extremely grateful, and I started taking my classes toward getting my uh, building principal endorsement. And that's where I am at right now with work experience. My educational background consists of going to Florida Gulf Coast University and graduating in 2001 with my Bachelor of Arts in Secondary Ed. I specialized in the area of social sciences, but I very quickly ended up getting my endorsement in special education, ESE, in Florida. And then also I could teach middle grades. But when I moved to Kansas, I found out that you cannot just have your endorsement on your license, and it takes a master's in order to continue to teach special education. So through the co-op, I ended up taking on classes at Fort Hays State University. My adaptive special education classes I thought were phenomenal, and I really wasn't sure what to expect when I started that, because I thought I've been teaching it for 12 years. What more am I going to learn? And I was pleasantly surprised, and I really enjoyed the format. I loved the convenience of online. It was rigorous, but it was still enough information to feel like I was really gaining quite a bit from it. And then in 2019, that's when I started my building principal endorsement. I wasn't going for another master's. I was extremely happy that Fort Hays offered this endorsement. And again, it's opened my eyes to just how much administrators have to take on. Fort Hays does a great job of covering everything. I was very happy that when I took my praxis, I had no problem passing it. And I do believe that was much of it was due to just how well Fort Hays prepares us for taking that test. Personal goals. These overlap a little bit with my professional, but this has become such a passion of mine this year that over the next 5 years, I really hope to have a solid program set in place for teaching students with really high needs, especially those that are nonverbal. We've worked really hard at structured teaching this year and trainings for teachers, as well as combining it with VB-MAP testing so that we have really solid data and roadmaps for teachers to understand how students can progress from one step to the next in order to get those verbal skills that we're looking for so that kids can become more independent. I've worked really closely with TASN this year. And so our next step, we've got the testing done, we've got all these things in place, but now we're at a point of support and how do we get there? And so that is going to be a huge focus of mine for the next 5 years of just making sure that we haven't put things in place and we don't have the supports to continue to follow through with everything. On top of that, I really want to start running again this summer. I had planned to run a half marathon, and that kind of fell through with all the responsibilities and the changes in life that I've had lately. And so next 5 years, I've got to get that half marathon in. I need to, for the 6 to 10 years, my daughter's going to be going off to college. I need to continue to be able to balance life, support my daughter through high school and getting into college, and just be there as her support system as she goes through college. We have a graduation trip to Europe planned. And then somewhere in there, I want to plan to begin working on either an EDS or a doctoral degree. And then fast forward in 10 or more years, I'm hoping to belong to several community organizations, and I'm hoping to be able to run for a county office. I could even see myself going further with that one day. I really enjoy the idea of being involved in politics and the idea of being able to fight for people and give other people a voice who would otherwise not have one. And so I would really like to be able to further fight for special education and inclusion in classrooms. Professional goals, I kind of jumped a bit ahead on these when I had done this. 1 to 5 years, I wanted to complete my endorsement through Fort Hays State University and obtain an administrative position. I have done that. And so I am super grateful and very happy that I'm already a little bit ahead of it. At 6 to 10 years, I was hoping to obtain an assistant director position with High Plains Educational Co-op. But just recently at our board meeting, I was pleasantly surprised and very grateful that they were going to move my position up to an assistant director position for next year. So I've already jumped a little bit ahead again on that one. So I think my big focus in 6 to 10 years and even now is to continue to fortify the relationship between High Plains Co-op and our 17 partner districts, just to really get the message out there of special education and that partnership so that we can be pretty solid in inclusion for all students. And then in 10 plus years, I absolutely would love to be the director for High Plains one day. And work with superintendents and politicians to continue to improve special education practices. I have never worked for an organization that I believe stronger in. The philosophy of High Plains is everything that I would like to be promoting. And so I do see myself sticking with this and being in this, hopefully until retirement. But along with that, the 10 plus years, High Plains has a really great relationship with Fort Hays State University, and several administrators here are already adjunct professors and teaching with Fort Hays. And so I think I just feel like I want to follow in that same career path, and I would one day very much like to come on board with Fort Hays State University. As far as getting involved with Fort Hays State University, High Plains had a huge role in that. It is a wonderful thing that they pay for the masters for the most part, as long as you work the years off for them. It makes it extremely easy that it's all online. And it's just a very easy, not necessarily in terms of rigor. I think there's an awful lot of work that goes with it, but it does make it very convenient when you're working. To be able to go through the programs. And I think the communication and the feedback from professors has been outstanding. As far as I think my expectations were exceeded with what I thought I was going to get out of the program. And so I am really excited over finishing up my endorsement, but at the same time, I'm very excited about continuing down this road with Fort Hays State University and where it will lead me in the future. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you learned a little bit about me and my goals and where I hope to be in the near future and long down the road. Thank you so much.